Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here, and today I have a card to share that I've created with the June Simon Says Stamp card kit and this great new stamp set created by Kelly Perky exclusively for Simon Says Stamp. I've decided for my card I wanted to create a Father's Day card, and I wanted to do a card that I've been liking a lot lately, which is doing a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card panel base that is just a flat piece of cardstock that doesn't open. And then on top of that, I'm going to adhere a smaller card that I'm going to create, roughly 4 1/4 by 3 inches in size, which is the perfect size to put a gift card into. And that's the plan for this card, which I'm going to make for my dad, to put a gift card into it and give it to him for Father's Day. So I decided to do something a little bit more fun with it rather than just a plain small card. I wanted to make the smaller area a dress shirt so that I could use the tie from the stamp set. So I just cut out a design with my silhouette with 2 different pieces of paper. I used just plain white cardstock, which is going to be the opening card base, and then I also used one of the pattern papers that comes in the kit, the aqua color that you see there, and that's going to be the actual shirt color. So right now I'm just putting some temporary adhesive onto the card base so that I can adhere the aqua piece and trim it to size so that it fits perfectly on the front of the card. Once I have it cut and how I want it, then I'm going to take it apart again so that I can finish dressing up the front piece. I want to add some stamping and the tie and everything to that. And then I'm just going to keep, I have that little bit of piece there extra, and what I'm going to do is cut a little triangle out of there, because as you can see when the card closes you can still see the white through the V of this shirt, and I wanted it to look like a complete shirt, so I needed to put the same pattern paper on the inside. So I just cut it a little bit bigger than the area that the shirt exposes, and I'm just going to adhere that directly inside. And then that way you can see when I reclose the card here, once I have that adhered, it's all the aqua color that you see, and you don't see any of that white when it's closed. And then I'm also going to set aside another piece to create a pocket, which I'll show you in a little bit. So now that I have the piece ready, I'm just using my inking tool here and just adding ink to all the edges for definition before I get to the tie. And now that I'm on to the tie part, I was originally going to stamp the tie with just a solid color of ink, and then I decided it might be a little bit more fun to use one of the pattern papers in the kit, since a lot of ties generally have a pattern to them. So rather than stamp it with just colored ink, I stamped it with Versamark onto one of the red dotted pattern papers that came in the kit. And now I'm going to clear emboss it and then cut the tie out. So that way it's still the stamp shaped tie, and I'm getting the pattern because the clear embossing powder is going to allow that to come through. And I kind of like the idea of having the shiny look to the tie once it's going to be embossed here. So I'm just going to go ahead and emboss this, and then I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to use my inking tool and just kind of ink the edges for a little bit of definition like I did with the shirt. And then once I have all that complete, I'm going to assemble the tie and the collars to the shirt front. So now you can see here I have the shirt all glued together there. And now I'm just going to create a pocket. So I just cut out a little square. I just eyeballed it to what I thought would look kind of like it would be the pocket size. And I'm just going to use my grid mat here and put a little tick on each side of what's going to be the pocket. And then I'm going to put another tick in the center of the bottom of the pocket. And then what I'm going to do is use those little markings, and with my scissors just cut them on a diagonal so that it just has the look of the pocket at the bottom there. And then once I have that cut out, I cut another small strip there, you can see. And I'm just going to adhere that to the top of the pocket just to give it the look of that little fold that most pockets usually have at the top. So I'm just adding the ink like I did with the rest of the shirt just to give it a little bit of definition. You don't want to ink it too much because you don't want it to stand out and look like it's not all one shirt, but it just gives it a little bit of a definition that you would normally get with shadows and stuff on a normal piece of clothing. So like I said, I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive to the strip, which is a little difficult. The strip's pretty thin, but I did manage to get it on it there. And I'm just going to use my Tombow Mono Multi Glue, add a little bit of glue to the top of the pocket, and just adhere that strip on. And then once it's on and dries, you want to hold it there for a minute just because it's a liquid glue. It needs a minute to set, which you can see there. I just put it on and pulled it off as quick as I had it on there. And then once you have it on and it's secure and it's not going to move anywhere, just use your scissors and you can just trim the edges of that long strip off of there. And then the the pocket can just be adhered directly onto the shirt front. It's kind of fun to embellish a little bit more than what was already on the digital design just to give it an even more realistic look. So it was, and I mean, it was easy to do. It's a basic shape, so there was no issue at all getting that created. So now that I have the strip there on the top, I'm just going to finish inking it so that I have the remainder of the top with the ink on it, and then just adhere it to that shirt front. And then once I have everything adhered, then I'm ready to do some stamping on there. So I've decided to just stamp directly on the shirt front and just use VersaFine black onyx ink, which is my favorite black ink for sentiments, and just stamped it directly on there. And now I kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but the card is all assembled and the shirt front is already adhered to it, and I'm just going to go around and do one more round of inking, a little bit heavier this time just because I'm going around the actual card now, so I wanted it to have a little bit more of inking there. So now that I have that all together, you can see I have the card open and there's my little triangle that I had added. And I just want to stamp one more sentiment. I want it to say Happy Father's Day. But even though the stamp fit on the inside, it went pretty close to each edge and I didn't really like how that looked. So I just cut the Happy off of the front of the stamp and I'm just going to rearrange them so that Happy sits on top of Father's Day and then just stamp it directly into the card, as you can see there. And I wanted to add Dad to the card because I call my dad Dad, and I wanted to say Happy Father's Day, Dad. So I just used some of the Kelly Perky stamps that come in the kit, and even though they're white, I kind of liked the white on white look, and I just went ahead and adhered those directly in the inside of the card. Not perfectly straight, I kind of let them be a little bit uneven just for, I just kind of liked the fun look that it gave to have them a little bit uneven. And then once I had all that together, now I'm just going to go ahead and assemble the rest of the card. So I just have some more cardstock that came in the kit and I've already cut it down. So the bottom piece there is the standard card base, and then I cut another piece of cardstock with the brown that comes in the kit, and it's just slightly smaller than the t-shirt or the dress shirt card that I've created. It's slightly bigger than the dress shirt that I've created, just to give it a little bit of a matte so that it helps it stand out from the lighter colored cardstock that I'm using for the base there. So now I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that on there. And as you can see, I don't think I remembered to mention, after I had finished the completed shirt card, I adhered that to one of the beigey gray pattern papers in the kit. So that's why you can see a little bit of that pattern up at the top there. So the shirt is what is the only part of the card that opens, but I liked the layered mat behind the shirt. I thought that it made it stand out and just made the shirt that much more defined on the card. And then just to complete it, I'm just going to add a gift card, which this is not going to be his gift card because I don't think my dad shops at Bootlegger, but it was the only one I had kicking around, so I just used it so that you could see size-wise how that fits in there. And I just used temporary adhesive to put that in so that when he takes the card out and if he wants to keep the greeting card that I've created, he can just rub that temporary adhesive off and keep the card. And then I just wrote in it my little love always from me, and it's ready to go. And now he has a great Father's Day card for Father's Day. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.